Hey listeners, welcome to Show Me Your Hustle. Today I am sitting down with Dustin, and I have been working on a project with Dustin on a collab, and so I am so excited to hear your story and learn just more about you and how you got started. So let's jump in. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're working on, and where you're at?
Yeah. First, thanks for having me. This is fun. Love joining these different podcasts, and I've been listening to yours for a little while. But yeah, I'm Dustin. I'm the CEO and founder of HIVE Strategy. I'm also the author of Market Like a Human. And somehow I feel like I blinked and we're 11 years into the agency.
Oh my gosh.
But started the agency in January of 2014 and have gone through a lot of different iterations and pivots and changes to the agency and who we are and what we do, and just kind of continuing down that path and growing and scaling and all the new problems that come with those things.
Right. Wow. 11 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah.
How?
Somehow.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know how we got there. I blinked and it was 5 years, and then I blinked again and it was 11.
Oh my gosh. How, looking back over those 11 years, what's one moment that really stood out to you as your biggest pivot?
I think it actually came really early on.
Okay.
So it's going to sound ridiculous today, but when I started the agency, we were meant to be a social media agency. So it was going to be we were working with small companies on social media strategy and posting and all of those things, which was a really big deal in 2014.
Right.
And then all of a sudden started getting all these phone calls from this guy at HubSpot. And I'm like, I don't even know what this is. Why won't you leave me alone?
Yeah.
Had several calls with him, and we're 6 months into the business. We don't have revenue flowing. I'm not paying myself. We don't have that yet. And so we're he's like, yeah, it's only going to be a couple $1,000s a month. And I'm like, are you insane? You, what? And somehow he still sold me. And so the original name of my agency was Be Social, BEE.
Okay.
And so
That's
we were doing a lot of social media stuff and advertising and things like that. And finally was okay, if I'm going to make this work and this agency is going to be what I want it to eventually become, we got to take some leaps of faith.
right.
And so became a HubSpot partner 10 and a half years ago. And there was only Marketing Hub. It's this kind of unknown, and I was like, okay, we're going to do it, and made that pivot, and then realized that nobody wants to buy a full marketing retainer and HubSpot from the social media guys.
Yeah.
Cause we painted ourselves into this niche, and that's all we were to people.
Got it.
And even our name, yelled it, right? We're
Right.
Be Social. All we do is social media.
Right.
So when we started talking about landing pages and conversion funnels and all these different services, they're like, wait a second, 2 and 2 is not adding up here. And so we pivoted very quickly. 6 months in, we're like, okay, we have to be something different. We can't be social anymore. So we actually rebranded. We kind of went through this whole process of how do we now become and brand ourselves as this full service agency that we didn't know we wanted to be 6 months ago.
Right.
So that was probably our biggest pivot, and it happened right away.
I mean, I guess that's kind of nice and lucky as you're still working through your strategy. I feel like, when they happen 9 years in and you have that oh crap moment, which I'm sure you've still had those. So that leads to my next question. Maybe not big pivot, but what's been your oh crap and big learning lesson moment?
I think that did come later. And we, especially as Be Social and early on, we were charging very little.
Right.
And anyone that had a checkbook that they were really willing to write our name on, like on one of those checks,
Yeah.
perfect fit. They were the perfect fit.
You're
for
like,
us.
I'll make up a price. I don't care. Just get in
absolutely.
the door.
Yeah, you have your checkbook. Perfect.
Yeah.
I think one of the bigger learning things for us, learning moments, was really understanding that like not every dollar is created equal, and not every client is created equal. So like we really started to figure out like who we wanted to work with and why we wanted to work with them and how we were successful, and started to figure out that like just because somebody was willing to pay us didn't make them a good fit. And so we really had to like take a step back and have that scary moment of we fired half a dozen clients kind of at the same time, and it was just like, oh, I hope we can replace this, and like I hope this doesn't backfire. But it was honestly such a great learning moment, and since then we've had plenty of jerks that have come through, and we're like, sorry, we don't work with jerks. Like, find someone else, and or even just like clients that come to us and they're like, they're great companies and they do a lot of great work, but they're just not like what we do, and like we can't help them the way that we want to. And so like just being able to say no, and like learning that lesson that we don't have to be everything to everyone, and we have our niche and we have our clients that we can really support well. And if somebody doesn't fit that, that's okay. Like we don't have to try to fit the square peg into the round hole.
Right. Would you say that's your biggest competitive advantage as being a HubSpot agency?
I guess I think that I think that's important, and I think there's still a lot of HubSpot agencies out there trying to be everything to everyone. And I think a lot of the very successful agencies have kind of picked a path and they've run in that direction. HubSpot from day one, so 10 and a half years ago, they were like, you have to just pick one industry and just do that. And I was like, that sounds awful. Which I still kind of feel that way. Like we're never going to be like the agency that does one thing and one thing only.
Right.
I don't think that plays into my personality at all. But I think that understanding who we are and who we help and how we help is a big deal. And it sounds so like elementary, right? Like it sounds like you should know that day one, and that's just not the reality.
No.
I think you have to figure that out and learn from mistakes and steps you've made and clients you've worked with. And, we work a lot in like the education industry. And that wasn't like really by design. Like we kind of fell into that and then just decided, okay, like this is an industry we like. This is where we want to play. How do we do more here? Right.
That's interesting. I love always hearing about how that happens. And that's where I want to shift. So we talked a lot about HIVE and its infancy to where it's at now. But what about you? Like what was your initial, I'm going to start my own thing? How'd you get there?
I think as a kid, even like, well, first I wanted to be an NFL player. And like, if that wasn't going to work out, then I was going to start my own business. Yeah. So I was destined to be in the NFL, and that didn't work out. So I think even as a kid, I always knew I wanted to start my own business. I was like fascinated with business. I was the weird kid that like loved cool pens and like things like that because it felt like businessy,
Right.
So I mean, I always knew I would start my own business. I had no idea what that business would be. But I think that's a path that I always wanted to take, and I always wanted to lead and kind of build.
What is with that? What has been the most loved and hated aspect of being a founder?
Oof. I think the freedom. I think like being able to build something that like I can build my vision, right? And now it's not like as we've grown and we're 11 years old now. I think like it's not just my vision.
Right.
You know, I have a leadership team that helps to guide that, and they do a great job with it and pull the reins on me when I get crazy. And you know, I think that's one of my favorite things, is just being able to find and build and grow and learn in kind of an unencumbered way, right? Like there is no ceiling, right? There are no walls. Like I can run in the direction that I want to run in.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing is honestly people. Like people are always the wild card, right?
Right.
Like, you know, a company can be fantastic, but the person you're working with isn't fantastic, and that spoils that. On the other side, like a company could be struggling and not so great, but the people are great.
Yeah.
And then that's a path to turning it around. And I think that's also internally. Like we've had some amazing hires. I mean, my VP started as kind of more of like an entry level kind of position for us, and has worked her way up, and like she's been such a like fantastic catalyst for our growth.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's always like some tough hires and some things that don't work out, and you know, the fully remote life is difficult, which is not how we started, and we had to kind of learn that. So I think the people side is the most difficult. You know, there are definitely times that like that's my favorite thing, and you know, interacting with my people and my clients and things like that. But it's also sometimes the hardest.
Right. What, with the remote world now and people, what have you found that works for maintaining culture?
I think it's like my team is probably going to roll their eyes as soon as they hear this, but it's communication. Like I think like I will stand on my soapbox and scream the word communication, like all day long. I think without us being able to like sit in the same room and like meet face to face and things like that, like you have to over communicate, which I don't think we're perfect at. I think there's a lot of room for growth, and I honestly like I think that's the same for any company, especially any remote company. But I think that's a big deal. And then I think just also like giving space and time for people to be people. So I mean, we have fun Slack channels, and like we're always like having fun and like bullying people into sharing their pictures from their vacation and their weddings and, you know, those kind of things, so that we can like really start to get to know the people, not just the role. So I think that's been a lot of fun. We also do like fun events, typically quarterly. You know, we did like a chocolate making class and yoga and like fun different things that kind of get people out of the we're just doing this 9 to 5 thing. Right.
What are you most excited about for this year?
This has been a fun year, honestly, so far. This is the first year that we've gone in a different direction as far as like our own marketing. So we've done like, as a HubSpot partner, I've been to like 1.5 million inbounds. We've been a sponsor for Inbound the last 2 years, and like, that's been an awesome and fun experience. Expensive experience, but fun experience.
I hear you.
And this year, like we've really leaned into like some of the industries that we work in. And so we've decided to go the route of let's go to these industry conferences and sponsor industry conferences that like we normally haven't been to, but can get in front of the audience that we want to get in front of. So we've done 3 conferences already this year. This year feels like it's 5 minutes old. And then we have a big one coming up next month that we're actually doing with Supered at SaaStock in Austin. Actually, like really pumped for it. Like it's been such a fun conference to plan and build, and Super brings their high energy hot pink to us. And,
right. I'm having so much FOMO that I won't be there, but
I'm so excited for it. So I think that's one thing that like has been circled on the calendar of like SaaStoc's going to be a blast.
yeah,
Totally.
totally.
I think Inbound coming up in September.
In San Francisco, like
yeah.
welcome to the West. You're on the West too, so I'm like, heck yeah.
Right, like that. When Yamini announced that they were going to San Francisco, I was like, "That's fantastic. Let's do that."
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, no 7-hour flight for me. Heck yeah. So
Yeah, it's honestly like I'm very excited for all of those things. I think also just the growth of the agency and leaning into some of our partners and tools and processes, and we're continuing to grow our team and have some really amazing talent that's recently joined, and just excited for where all of those things take us.
Totally. Well, Dustin, thank you. This was awesome. I personally, like, watching your brand and your team has been such a great experience, and I am so excited for your team this year too. So thank you.
Absolutely.